Hey everyone, it's Reed. Things are crazy right now. You don't have to like it. You don't have to accept it morally, but we should acknowledge it. And what you all are helping me create is a community of people who are working to make things better. Guys, we are working to create what is going to happen tomorrow. Not today, but tomorrow. And I need your help. Please go over to Substack and sign up for the Homefront to join the community there too. We have 40,000 followers. Help me get to 50,000 followers, and let's keep spreading this good word. And now, on with the show. Welcome back to the Homefront. I'm your host, Reed Galen. Today, I'm joined by journalist, author, podcaster, tech expert, and whatever else fits on her business card, Kara Swisher. Kara is the host of the podcast On with Kara Swisher and the co-host of the Pivot podcast with Scott Galloway. She's written for numerous outlets, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, and is a contributor to CNN. Her latest book, a New York Times bestseller, is Burn Book, a tech love story, which is coming out in paperback any day now and available wherever fine books are sold. Kara, welcome back.
Hi, how you doing?
Well, you are in hot demand because,
Jesus.
as well you should be. You've earned it. Because as I remember when I interviewed you last year when the book was first coming out, that I think one of the blurbs on the back was from Elon Musk talking about what a terrible person you were.
Yes, many times. Although one time, there's one I was right when I told him that Trump was going to do a Muslim ban, and he didn't believe me, and that's when he said I was right. Yeah, he was. What I did is they keep insulting me, all these people that are now running our government. And when I call them out for self-interest or, a version of grifting, which is, basic corruption, I'll take this contract, or no conflicts of interest that are really obvious. And so they don't like that or me criticizing them in any way. It's normal criticism, by the way. And so they kept insulting me. And so instead of having blurbs on the back of my book, I put their insults and it says praise for Kara Swisher. So I thought it was
And let me ask you, is it because they know you know them, one, as well as you do, and two, because you know them from the before times, that they're so sensitive to you?
Well, I don't know if they're sensitive to me, they're sensitive to everybody. As you've seen, you're just all meeting them now. This is what we in tech have had to deal with, and now you get to know them. They can't stop talking. They're incredibly narcissistic. They compromise constantly. They're interested in conflicts of interest. No conflict, no interest. They aren't as smart as you think they are. They aren't geniuses. They make big mistakes and then pretend they're not mistakes. And of course, they want all is forgiven for them, but nothing for us. And same this arrogance and that we're so used to covering them for 30 years.
Let me ask you this. There's that line from Mad Men where Peggy is upset with Don Draper because she's not getting the credit. And he said,
Right.
that's what the money is for.
Yeah.
What else is it that these people are looking for? For Musk, is it just now power because he's got all the money? Is it the same for Bezos? Is it the same for Andreessen? What else is it that they're so desperate for to fill this emptiness that just
Right,
expands inside
emptiness is
them?
a good way to put it. I think most things stem from insecurity ultimately when you behave like this, when you have to be so performative and cosplaying power and running around a stage with a chainsaw. You need look at me is really part of it. Same thing with Bezos with this unfortunate series of shirts it's wearing now. And
Or not wearing, yes.
yeah, or look at my chest, look at my that's just personal. That's just look at me, right? Okay. That's fine. And with Elon, it's a little deeper. He desperately is in desperate need of attention, just like Trump in a lot of ways. Although honestly, he makes Trump look shy and retiring in comparison. I go back and forth on Musk because they have so much money. Money isn't really the point. It's power, and it's the acquisition of power and being right about things and wanting to create the world in the way they want to create it, which is without any restriction. As Bezos just decided, the Washington Post can only write about free markets and personal liberties. It didn't say democracy, did he? He did not say justice. He did not say humanity. All these things go along with the American experience. He just said personal liberty, which is I can do what I want. That's what that is. That's for them. That's what that is. And free markets, I can do what I want. Right. And I don't want the government telling me what to do. And so, what I think Elon's up to in many ways, too, I think he likes to think about the data for his businesses for his, especially his AI businesses, is very interesting to him. I think possibility of getting control of TikTok would be interesting to him. I think a lot about not having to deal with regulators who he hates, and firing them. And everywhere you've seen Doge go, it has to do with an investigation of one of his companies. And so, in a lot of ways, I feel like he's just getting rid of the people. Remove this vexing priest from my presence, kind of thing. And so,
Right.
Henry VIII, but he wants them off his back, and so do the rest of them, crypto, whatever it happens to be, because they know best. Reed, I don't know if you know that, but they know how to live, as opposed to you and I, because they're rich.
Yes, they're rich, and they've told us that. We were texting, I think maybe over the weekend, last weekend or earlier this week, because I waded through Mark Andreessen's, techno-optimist
Yeah.
manifesto, which
Smart guy, but
yeah, but
also
it's
a
also like
fathead,
double spaced.
chucklehead.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
he's Beldar Conehead.
right.
Um, and and so I'm just going through this stuff, and it felt like I was stuck like with that one wacky professor who teaches philosophy 101 at Stanford. And it was just so sophomoric. And, it
Exactly.
quotes Ayn Rand and it quotes just the parts of Road to Serfdom that make his point. But all of it comes down to one very clear thing, which is, let's be clear, gang, this is for me and my friends, not really for you.
If you listen to the language, and that's a particularly ridiculous, boneheaded piece, because it's he's just showing his ass, right? Like, that's what I read it. I was like, oh, look, he's showing his ass. I think it's very much like we know better. We're of the people, the richest people on earth, who ride in private planes, who live in these antiseptic, and he's a particularly antiseptic loving guy, in these little antiseptic worlds. They go from plane to car to their house to their boat to their everything else, not dealing with the regulars, right? This guy, hasn't is not a regular, let's just say. And he's calling us elites. That's my favorite part. I'm like, literally, I wish I was an elite. I wish I lived like you. I don't actually. It's sad and pathetic existence, but it's really, where everyone who works for you is paid by you. Wow, that's great. Like, fantastic. That means they say you're smart all the time, which is, Elon telling jokes and everyone laughing. My employees thought I was funny. Like, oh, great. Okay, Mr. Burns, good to know.
Right. And I've heard that some of them actually keep, Hollywood A-listers actually on retainer.
Well, why not? You can buy anything. You can buy anything you want, and ultimately, what irritates them is people not subject to money, like me or other people like them that don't agree with them, like Reid Hoffman, or in the case of Elon, Sam Altman. He just doesn't agree with him, and Sam certainly has the means to say "F you" to Elon, but he's still going at him. He's still going at him with the lawsuits and everything else.
So let me ask you this. I want to flip to Bezos for a second. If you have you money, but you never say you, what's the
Yeah.
point?
I don't know. I would be saying "F you" all the time,
Right.
and even then I wouldn't. It's just like, it doesn't make you better. There's no better. Jeff Bezos is no better than the plumber who just fixed my toilet. I'm sorry. He's just not. He, like, created what, a retail business?
Well,
Great.
you need the plumber because you need the toilet.
Absolutely.
I can live
It's
without
like this
Amazon.
idea that I don't understand why. I don't understand why he's sucking up. I don't get it. My joke I always say is they're so poor, all they have is money. Or maybe he just thinks this. Actually, maybe he just thinks this. He thinks that he's better. He thinks that the regulators are terrible. He's, of course, has had his tussles with regulators because of the safety issues are in his warehouses, which are significant, I would say. They've fixed some, they haven't fixed others. He hates unions. They don't want any unionization of Amazon workers, obviously. But they work off the backs of other people's sweat, right? And they perfected it. And by the way, the minute they can replace those people, I'm sorry to tell you, warehouse workers, they will, right? And I've seen some of their advanced technology around that, and it's really quite breathtaking. And at the same time, uh-oh, like, watch out. I think Jeff was always conservative. He was from Wall Street. He worked for D.E. Shaw,
Right. Went to Princeton.
went to
Right.
Princeton. He was never, and he was older than most everybody else at the time. He's my age, but he's always been conservative, I would say. Libertarian light, if I had to, like, pick a lane. They're all libertarian light. It's sort of that, it's dumb Ayn Rand. It's just dumb version. Like, when you read it in college, you're like, oh, oh, and then later you're like, "Oh, that's really kind of stupid," if you care about kids or other people or have any kind of empathy.
You have spent so much time around these people at the highest levels. My interaction with your world, the tech world, is far more accidental,
Yeah.
incidental.
They paid you?
From the cheap seats. I would do these conferences in San Francisco with this sort of libertarian tech outfit. Right after Romney lost, we're trying to figure out how to do this stuff, and the crypto people were there, and I'm like, I don't get it, but they're like evangelists.
Oh, they're religious. There are many of them, not all of them, but many of them.
And then I ended up at, like, a seasteading event
Oh,
once,
they love that.
where this was for the people who don't know, this is this cockamamie idea that Peter Thiel came up with. He's gonna create these islands, literal islands in the ocean of freedom where you could do theoretically, if you own the island, do whatever you want.
That's correct. Kings for a day.
Right, but again, I'm not a tech guy, so it always just seemed very strange to me.
One of the problems is they're so rich and you want their money. Like, I get it. You guys all want consulting money and you got to go, oh, interesting. But if some dumbass in a bar started talking to me, like, move away, move down a seat, please. I don't want to hear your theories on whatever. And so that's one of the reasons they don't like me when they start on some of the stuff like seasteading. I'm like, I have no interest. Like I think I was at this event and one of them was starting seasteading and they're like, let me tell you, I'm like, I have no interest. They're like, oh, you don't know about it? I go, no, I have no interest in it. I don't want to hear about it. I think it's stupid. I know enough about it, but go for it. If you want to live like that, I'm a landlubber. I don't know what to tell you. So
Do you think there's a crossover point? Is it simply money? Is it ego? Is it the sort of time warp or black hole of people around you always telling you right? Is there a point at which people cross over into the unreality or the hyper reality for which they've created for themselves?
no, I mean, it's really hard. I mean, look, there's a lot of adults, like Tim Cook's an adult. He gets it. He's just running his company. Reed Hoffman, Mark Cuban. There's a lot of adults, right? The Nvidia CEO is, he'll like, do the leather jacket thing and the whole thing, but he's a smart guy, like, right? Um, there's all kinds of adults that don't do this nonsense, and they don't subject you to their theories on I don't know. Elon tweeted at one point his theories on cesareans, which I had one, and I don't want to hear his theories on cesareans. Right? Like, sorry, sit down, sir. Like, I have the scar, so you need to move along. It was about people's brain sizes and whether they were smarter because their heads didn't get squished. And I was like, I had this kid with the cesarean is not as smart as the other kid, but okay, whatever. But they just there's a lot of adults. They're just rich and they run good companies and they're good executives. And then they don't subject you to all their, except for maybe fasting. They'll talk about fasting endlessly.
Let's stay in the cesarean aspect for a second. So I think Musk has like 13 kids. Will there ever be enough kids? Will he have 100 kids? Is there some psychological thing to this, or does he just like having offspring all over the place?
It's so interesting because the father he reportedly hated and who he's now reconciled with, or maybe not. He's got such a up family. Like, but lots of people have up families, so it's no excuse, just an explanation. I don't know. He has this theory about, I suppose, not being enough white people. I guess that seems to be the avenue he's going down. That he's tweeted a bunch of stuff that's crazy as far as not pleasant to read about, and essentially that there's not enough. Like Europe is going to die out, and America's going to die. And there should be concerns about birth rates in certain countries and not others, and that's a normal thing to have to discuss about. Like, what are we going to do if there's not enough young people and too many old people and Social Security? Perfectly good thing to discuss, like, and to debate, but it becomes almost a religion with them. And so the way it's manifested with him is that he wants to have a lot of kids. Like he wants to have ton, you hear it from JD Vance, you hear it from lots of them. They have that idea that there needs to be I just want to point out I have one more kid than JD Vance. So JD, keep up.
Chop chop,
Keep up with
right.
the lesbians. Come on. They have this theory around birth and some of them have some strange theories about women and their place in society and which isn't a good one, I would say. It just depends. And I think for him the kids are I don't know, maybe he just likes to have sex. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it is wrapped up in these theories around birth rates and stuff like that. It's again, guy sitting next to you at a bar starts going on, and you're like, "Don't wanna hear it." If you wanna have sex with people, go for it. I don't think he's a good parent. He just takes around that one kid, and the rest you never see, and he was heinous to one of his oldest kid who is trans and has been heinous, just as heinous as could be, and I think what happened was this kid rejected him, and that set him off, and so therefore, he called, the other kid dead to me, but the kid had rejected him long before that for his cruelty.
Somebody asked me if Musk's kids like him, and I said, "I think the ones that are old enough to understand don't, and the ones who are
I
too
haven't polled
young
them
don't."
all. Several of them do not. I think they're all. I will tell you that family's in fear of what he could do. I mean, look at Grimes communicating to him through through Twitter. Like she can't get a hold of him. This new woman, which I had heard about many months ago, um, uh, trying to reach him through Twitter. Like, can you call me and pay your child support? Essentially, it's an embarrassment. I mean, there's one thing to have a lot of kids, another thing to be a great parent, and so it's a distasteful way to treat children and your own children, but I don't think that's the point for him. I think it's having children, not being a father. And he would know that because his father was a shitty father, so
Right. The ethos of what you're talking about is sort of the great replacement theory, right? Which it manifests in someone like Elon Musk by having 13 kids. It manifests in somebody else by going to a supermarket in Buffalo and killing 10
that's
people.
correct. That's correct. And he dabbles in that and he retweets it and so he retweets all kinds of heinous things around that. And so yeah, I've never had a discussion with him about it that's of any consequence. I've seen him be a good parent. I've seen it, but not in a decade. Not in a decade. And his treatment of his trans kid, it says everything I need to know about it. Who's delightful, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Listen, I mean, if you can go through all that and be delightful, like,
You can
good
see her
on you.
online. She's hysterical. Actually, I was just remarking to someone at lunch that a lot of her, she's on Threads, and she may be on Blue Sky, but her sense of humor. He used to be kind of this. She's got a. You can see the resemblance. That's all. You know what I mean? Kind of inflection and humor and takes on things. So it's particularly sad to see. If he would act like a parent, perhaps he would have I think it's long past that that's happened, but it's a delightful person and would should be proud to have that person as your kid.
I want to stay with Musk for one more second in the realm of straight politics from your perspective, which is his dalliances, his support with the AfD over in Germany, the sort of I don't know if I don't want to call them neo-Nazi, maybe neo-fascist far right. Is he
You
doing
can
that
call them
because
Nazi to
he
me. They feel I went out with a
right.
bunch of Germans, they were calling them Nazis last night.
Okay, well, if it's good enough for the Germans, it's good enough for me. Is he doing that simply because he sees it as disruptive and he likes to see people's heads explode, or does he actually have an ideological belief that they should be running things?
It feels like he's moved that way. I think it's attractive to him. He's sort of gone he himself has been dragged down into conspiracy theory alley by his own things he owns. You can see that, it happens to a lot of people, by the way. Often around trans stuff. It's really interesting. I know several Silicon Valley people, men who have children who are trans and suddenly they go from trans to vaccines to this to that. Like it sort of feels like a daisy chain of horror. Um, I think he flirts with fascism. Like he likes to retweet it. He's obviously brought people back onto the thing and he uses it all in this idea of free speech. Like, oh, it's what it is free speech, when what it is he likes the idea of a single powerful ruler above all. The singular CEO theory.
Curtis Yarvin weirdness, yeah.
Not the singular CEO. It's got anyways, it
It's
got
like
some
CEO monarch or something like
whatever,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever it is, someone was explaining it to me, and I said, "Oh, it's a dictator, right?" And that's
Yeah.
how they run their companies, and they're
Right.
like, "But this blah." I'm like, "No, I got it, dictator, got it." Like, pretty easy to, like, they love to dress things up in unified CEO theory, that's what it is.
Right. Which is, the if you turn that to the presidency, it's the unitary executive, right? That the president is all powerful.
Yeah, same thing, and I could there's been that's been debated for a long time, who has the strength. If you read I'm of they made it the way they made it so everyone would be up, but with each other. Like the whole point is to create friction. And the whole point of our government is to create friction, right? Everyone's like, it doesn't work. I'm like, it's designed not to work so well because they don't want anyone to get power, whether it's the legislative, the courts, or especially the executive. And in Silicon Valley, the theory is no friction. They wanna get rid of friction in retail and friction in banking and friction in they hate the word friction, and they wanna remove it. They want seamless experiences. They'll say those kind of words to you, so it makes sense.
I mean, that's part of it too, which is I was watching, Salesforce, Mark Benioff.
Oh, yeah, he's a
Was watching a
character.
video of him, and somebody said to me today, "Does anybody realize that Mark Benioff and Mark Zuckerberg are recolonizing Hawaii?" And I hadn't thought
Yeah,
about
they
it
are.
that way, but they are. But he was I think it was a video earlier this week saying, talking about Trump, "Well, it's great to have an administration that's finally pro-business again." And Kara, the thing I was thinking to myself is like, over the course of the last 40, 50 years, explain to me really what hurdles corporate America has had to cross, what fiery hoops they've had to jump
Well,
through.
any tiny little speed bump they think of as onerous, right? And there's some cases, look, the Biden administration did do that, did a lot of things. There's more of that, and obviously, some Democratic constituencies around the country, cities have been hard. They have, like, but that's it's directionally correct, right? It's directionally into making it better for everybody, and perhaps overstepping in DEI or overstepping in, but directionally, it's the right idea, right? That we all should have a fair shake, right? I think ultimately. And I think that Mark shifts back and forth, whatever, whoever he wants to get in on this table and they don't want him. I was texting with him and he was very critical of Trump, I would say, and very, like very. And so was Elon, by the way. And now he's not at the table, and so he wants in, like a lot of these people. And I wrote him and I said, "They're not letting you in. They don't like you." Like, and he's like, "No, they do." And I was like, "No, no." And I showed them the tweets from all the Elon crew, and they're like, "Mark Benioff is pathetic. They're trying to get in on this right now." And they're just a bunch of teenagers in high school, essentially.
Yeah, I was explaining to my 8th grader. She was going through this group of people in one of her classes that she has to work with, and she's like, "And this person does X, and that person does Y, and this person does Z." And I said, "Darling, life is high school."
Yeah, that's correct. Well, in this case, nursery school, but it's ridiculous. They're all like this. They're like one of them was insulting me, and I said, "Oh, you mean like you called me the conscience of Silicon Valley was critically necessary to keep everybody on the right path?" I'm like, "Oh, was that a lie or was the other one?" They're just the joke I keep making is if Kamala Harris had won, Mark Zuckerberg would demand we call him they them, right? I really believe in they them. Like they just get their it's so ridiculous. What's the difference what you call people?
I just wanna touch on this, and maybe the answer is back to insecurity, but, Elon and the hair plugs and Zuckerberg and the jujitsu and Bezos with the HGH and the cowboy hats, like, in this sort of like, "Oh, you know what America needs is more masculinity." Like, let me tell you, like, I know plenty of dudes. Like, I'm not really a dude, but I know plenty of dudes. And I've had plenty of moments in my life where I had to, display masculinity. Like, it could be a stupid bar fight I got into, whatever it was, defending the honor of a lady at least. But like, I don't like when I look at Mark Zuckerberg or I look at Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, I'm like that ain't like those are not dudes to me.
Elon's a big guy, actually. Bezos and Mark are we. I would say we. It's small guys. Elon's a big guy, but yeah, no, it's such cosplay. I'm fine with if he wants to wear his silly gold chain and look like as Jimmy Kimmel said, a Chechen Molly dealer. All the power to him. I'm for whatever anybody wants to dress up as. And if he wants to wear those ridiculous shirts, Bezos, let him. He likes it. He likes his lady, likes it. Whatever. Like again, I live and let live is what I say. At the same time, I can say they look sad and pathetic, right? And they have to be able to take it. And whatever. It's a question of what a man is. Why is that defined? What a woman is. It's so inflexible about what to me, as Scott Galloway says on a podcast, it's an is who takes responsibility for himself, like, right? And doesn't treat if you have more, you don't take more. If you can protect people, you protect people. You have to be empathetic. That's not a lady quality. That's a good human quality. Is to walk a mile in other people's shoes. And one of the reasons why it's designed this way is because they're a bunch of adult toddlers. Do you like it, Mark's look? I whatever.
It's ridiculous. If he was in our friend group and that's how he showed up, the roasting would be
Yeah,
endless.
yeah, yeah.
Endless.
I always joke that he looks like a woman I dated back in the '70s, '80s, and stuff like that. And Musk kind of his outfits are interesting. Like, he always has that he also dresses like a lesbian. It's interesting, like, with that leather jacket, that weird shearling leather jacket he
All
wears.
black and
Yeah, I was like, "You look like a lesbian on the L Word, look like you'd be on the L Word." And then, and Jeff, I don't know what's going look, he likes it. He likes it, whatever, he likes it. He used to wear pleated pants. That's why I remember him he had pleated pants and, Oxford shirts, that was his thing, and, like, they were real pleated. They were real
as
pleated.
was every
Yeah,
balding white guy of the '90s, like, that
yeah,
was the uniform.
80s, really. Yeah, he was slight, he was, he rode around on a Segway. He wasn't cool. I liked when he wasn't cool.
Let me bring Musk and Trump together. You see, at the recent cabinet meeting, Musk gets up and talks, in the Oval Office, right? He and his guys are running around, scaring the hell out of people, firing people willy-nilly. I mean, my sense is that, maybe Trump will get sick of him, but I think that in some ways, in weird ways, Trump is a learning lizard,
Yes,
which is
indeed.
they're perfectly happy to have him out running around scaring the
That's
hell out of
correct. He's a
people.
heat shield. He's a heat shield for Trump. But he
Right.
actually who are we talking about? Elon Musk, right?
Yeah.
Not Trump. Trump's really behind all of it, right? But and maybe he is, maybe he isn't actually. I wonder about his cognitive abilities over the next few years. Only because he's old. Just trying to be fair. Biden,
Yeah.
Trump. He's an old guy. Um, one of the things I think for Trump is that even though he's an egomaniac and he's a one ring circus, as Maggie Haberman called him, he also does understand the power of his guys in front of him. So I think he sees Elon like a junkyard dog, a hitman, an enforcer. Oh, look at who knows what Elon's going to do. I think he uses it as a management technique. Is I'll pull him in, like, "Oh, maybe I won't," that kind of thing, and I think that's useful to him, and plus added bonus, he's the world's richest man, right? I have the world's richest man on my leash kinda thing,
Right.
and so that's an attractive power thing to him, and so I think he likes that, and I think they at first, I thought they would break up, and I think he is irritated by Elon's incessant chatter. He's autistic, you can see that, a lot of these tech guys are, and he can't stop talking. Like it's a very common actually attribute of many of these people. And then when people are paying attention to them, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to keep talking. I can keep telling you." And people attribute like the Nazi thing to that wasn't autism. I mean, I feel that was an insult to people who are autistic and are struggling with that. But Trump is useful for Trump. I don't see it as any other way. Then he can also threaten Congress people who step out of line with, "I'm gonna sick this guy with all his money on you in the primaries." That's frightening, right? Look at all those people at the meeting yesterday. Like, "You love Elon, don't you?" Like, how much would I have paid to have one of them go, "No, he's kind of a
No,
douche. He's kind
yeah, I
of a
really
douche,
can't
Mr.
stand this
President."
guy.
This guy that's what they were thinking. Like, Marco
Yeah.
Rubio's face was
Yeah.
like, "What the how the did I get here? Like, what am I doing?" You just feel it. You can like the bubble above his head was like, how did I this I studied. I studied. I got better. Like, what in the actual is going on here? And then of course, like Christy Nome was such a ditz, was just like, what outfit shall I wear to
I know. Talk about
what
cosplay.
what
That's a whole other
flamethrower
deal.
shall I use? What a ridiculous person she is, honestly.
It's interesting you say about the management aspect of it or the power and control aspect of it because, Musk has OPM send out these emails. You have to tell us what you're doing, all these other things. And then other people are like, no, 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 you don't have to do that.
Right.
And, and everybody's like, oh, the contradictions, I'm like, you guys still aren't learning. Like
Distraction.
it's distraction. They don't care, right? Chaos is the ball game.
And meanwhile, grift is going on over here. No, it's distraction. Someone was asked me, I think it was Caitlin Collins on CNN, like, "What do you think of this Gaza AI?" I'm like, "I hate AI movies, so I saw it. It's racist. It's mean. I don't understand why belly dancers have beards, but okay, like I'm good. But I don't ever like those things. They look vaguely porny. All those
Right.
AI,
It's
the
weird.
gold Trump thing. Like he's fing with you. He's just like DEI and plane crashes. Are you kidding me? Like now we have plane crashes. So now we're instead of DEI, we have DAF, which is dumb as in the form of our transportation secretary.
But he was on The Real World, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right, that's right, he's good at that. I get why you're upset by the Gaza thing, it's rude, it's cruel, but guess what? This guy is rude and cruel, like, were you is this a new penny dropping in your head that this guy's so don't react to that, like you react to the things that are very important when they start putting people in concentration camps, right? Which or what is akin to a concentration. Just when they start to do the real stuff, that's where you get angry about. And the other stuff you could spend your this is their whole strategy is just, Bannon talks about it explicitly. It's not like it's a big secret. Like let's send out a letter and say 5 things and everyone will talk about it. And at heart, well, what's wrong with that? It's like, well, nothing, but it's stupid. It's a distraction, right? I suppose there's nothing wrong with people returning you, but why do you need it? Why are you doing it? And so we spend all our energy, it's good for jokes, I guess. I just laugh at most of their things. It drives them crazy. They go all limp when you start, you know,
Right.
the only thing is some of the stuff is quite serious. Like, they're not like, look, people lose their jobs, like the Ebola thing. Like, are you kidding me? Like, "Oh, well, we made a mistake." And then he lied about it. Like, yeah, you didn't fix it. Like, or the Gaza condom thing. You're just a bunch of liars and propagandists. And you just have to keep saying this. And one of the things, they're so into like topping each other. That's another thing. I ran into one of them at a hotel here and I was like, "Oh god, you terrible, horrible person." And they came up to me and they're like, "We're winning." And I'm like, "You're still an asshole."
Right.
And they're like, I go, "Goodbye. See ya." Like, and they didn't know what to do. They wanted me to be all mad or something. I refused with these people until they come with the real guns and until they come with the real dangerous things. I'll be scared of them then, like, obviously. And that's the stuff we need to pay attention to. The autocratic powers gathered under the president. I wouldn't like it if Democrats had those powers, FYI. Like, I don't think anybody should. The whole point of our system is friction, and the whole point of Silicon Valley is seamlessness. And they want seamless because it's easier for them to do. It's no different than a chemical company wanting to spew toxic waste into the river. Same thing.
Well, the other part too, let me ask you this, is there's the seamlessness and the friction free, but also, is there still the, move fast and break things ethos too?
Uh, that's it. It's been used a lot. It's a software term. Is that you want to move fast and make sure there's no problems like bugs and things like that. Break it. See if you can break it to make the technology more resilient. But it's really interesting that that's the one they picked at Facebook. I always thought that was interesting. And why they didn't change it? Move fast and fix things. Move fast and reform things. Move fast and improve things. There's a lot of words. Break is a really interesting word. And again, it's a software word, but that's what they like to do. They like to break. They like to, a lot of their phrase. I pay attention to words a lot, and I'm like, huh, why do they use that word? Why do they use that word? One of the ones that sticks in my brain from the beginning covering this is what other industry calls their audience users?
Mm, mhm.
Drugs,
Drugs, right.
drugs, drug users.
Well, Kara, tell us about, has there been any update to Burn Book?
Yes, I have an afterword. That I do that I'm very worried about these people gaining enormous power during this era of AI is like the US government information has never been knit together. There's a lot of it, but it's always siloed, and some of it's because our technology is so bad at the government level. The other is there's a reason we don't have a Department of Information. There's a reason China has one because they want to exert incredible power over people's lives in a non-democracy, right? In an autocratic state. The real game here is control of people's lives. It's a surveillance economy that goes well beyond selling us, a mattress or whatever. It goes to really controlling people in a way that's terrifying. The ability to know everything. We ourselves have bought into it because a lot of this technology is necessary, it's addictive, and it's everywhere. A lot of people have talked about the idea that virtuality replaces reality, right? And I think Elon just said it the other day, 99% of intelligence is going to be digital. And I think he's 100% right. Like, what happens when intelligence is not human? What happens to all the qualities of empathy? And it's not like they want to kill us, this technology. It's that it doesn't have any feelings. And so that's just as dangerous. I reference in the afterword one of my favorite philosophers is Paul Virilio, French philosopher, and he once talked about a science fiction short story, and I'll quote this, in which a camera has been invented which can be carried by flakes of snow. Cameras are inseminated into artificial snow, which is dropped by planes, and when the snow falls, there are eyes everywhere. There is no blind spot left. And the interviewer at the time, this was back in the 90s, I think, where he talked about this, early 90s. He said, "But what shall we dream of when everything becomes visible?" And Virilio answered, "We dream of being blind,"
Mm,
which I thought was like, bomb, my
yeah,
head
right.
blew
Mind
apart.
blowing.
But it's mind blowing because it is like if everybody's watching and seeing us, and the whole point of being in a democracy is you can be invisible, you could do what you want. I do believe in that. I believe in personal liberty, but not as far as mine goes to someone else's. But I also believe in the other factors of America, which is look, we're an up and down country. We've done terrible things, we've done great things. And so, but the ones I want to lean into are that we create incredible innovation, that we take care of each other, that we try to take care of each other, that we have community, and that we are not controlled by the richest and most powerful people on earth. Why do they get to decide our fate and what's important to us?
Well, because to extend on your users thing is like then we just all become serfs,
That's
right?
right. We're their
What it
serfs.
what it is you do is doesn't matter so long as you press the button, you get the treat, and you go home at the end of the
And
day.
our elected officials have become serfs to them, and we elected them. And, I often say, someone's like, well, our elected officials are this. And I go, but we elected them. Like, honestly, I want Ted Cruz to make decisions for us over these fuckers. Like, because I don't like Ted Cruz. He's an idiot. Like, he's clearly a complete
He's a
nincompoop.
terrible person. Yes.
Terrible person. Nobody likes him since college. It's really kind of consistent. I don't care. The people of Texas voted him in, right? He went out, he went and got their votes, he won. He's the representative of the people of Texas. I would trust him more than I would trust Elon Musk. He's the representative of no one. So again, and here I am, backing Ted Cruz over this guy, but Ted Cruz takes a fall, right? Because he's so thirsty for power and influence and everything else. He can't, I mean, it's so thirsty. It's really kind of embarrassing. But that's the kind of thing I believe in.
Well, Kara, thank you so much. I know you are moving and grooving today. I want to thank you for your time. Before we let you go, is there any place in particular our listeners and viewers should find you online and when the new book comes out?
Oh, in March, I forget the date. I'm sorry. I'm working on another new book about the future of technology, of where like all this cool healthcare stuff is. I'm so sick of these assholes. I'm like, I'm going to look to the stuff that helps humanity, that is going to relieve poverty, to cure cancer, stuff like that. And I don't want to talk to them anymore. I want to talk to like where things are going in a really good way. But I have Pivot every week, twice a week with Scott Galloway. I think that's a hoot, and we're very funny. And we do On with Kara Swisher, which is an interview show. I just had Rahm Emanuel on. I have a lot of Republicans on, the ones that aren't completely suck up to Trump, but who are interesting and who challenge me. I did a great interview with Ken Buck a couple of years ago that I love.
Oh,
That I think
sure.
is great. I don't agree with him, but it doesn't matter. He had a point of view. Um, anyway, we try to do that, and then we're all over the place. We're everywhere. We're so promiscuous on every single medium.
As always, gang, you can find me on Twitter, TikTok, says.us at Reed Galen, Threads and
And why are you
Instagram
on
at
Twitter still,
Reed.
Reed? What in the I have more people than you. I have one point. I just checked in today. I hadn't been there in months.
Let me just say this. It's a good question. I spend almost no time on any text-based platform other than to post things like this and
Mhm.
things I write.
Yeah,
I don't
marketing.
spend
So
Yeah,
marketing.
that's it. I used to find Twitter both useful and informative and entertaining. It's none of those. I'm on Blue Sky. I have 10% of the followers on Blue Sky that I had on Twitter. I don't care because none of to me, not much of it's very interesting. If I'm gonna find something interesting, I'll probably find it on Substack or something somebody sends me, right? My wife listens to you and Scott religiously. Like if she's got it on, I'll probably listen. But I don't find it entertaining. I don't find it useful. And again, yeah, it's marketing. That's it for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, if it's even worse. Well, Twitter was never a particularly good marketing product, but now it's even worse. Anything you use for let me tell your listeners, for technology, you should like it. It should make you feel better. You shouldn't feel like you've lost time. You shouldn't feel bad about it. It should improve your life, you know? Like, we all know how it feels to drive in an amazing car and go fast down a street in the summer. Like, that's how it should feel. It shouldn't feel lugubrious and terrible and make you feel like shit. And if it does, you should stop doing it.
Right. And that's why I'm consistently trying to get that screen time down
Yeah.
day in and day out, week in
Well,
and
it's
week out. Because
addictive. It's
yeah.
meant to keep you scrolling.
Well, Kara, thank you so much for joining me.
All right. Thanks, Reed.
And everybody else, we'll see you next time.